Hey guys, this is David McDarby back with my second versus video. I hope you liked the first one, and I hope you like the second one even more. Today I have Grixis control. Grixis is kind of the shardless agent, in that the other four shards have known decks that have done well. Grixis kind of doesn't, which makes me sad because I'm the blue-red guy. But I'm going to see what I can do. I'm battling CVM today with some red-green creatures or something. I don't really know. I don't really care. But we'll see what we have in this deck. You'll see here here are the creatures. We have 11 creatures. We have the Augur Bolus and Snapcaster Mage Shell that you kind of see with all these blue controller decks. You know what they're for. We have Tulivia Voldaren. She is one of the best reasons to go black-red. She's the Rakdos Baneslayer Angel for control decks, if you will. You don't have to, though. But she just allows us to take over the game. It kills things. It kills players. She does everything. Hope she doesn't get Searing Spirit. If you think they have Searing Spirit in their deck, you might just wait until you have 6 mana, and then you can bump her up. To protect against that. And then we have the two Aetherling. Aetherling kind of had his graduation party at the recent Pro Tour. People learned that if you have 7 mana, you just can't kill him. And then you'll kill your opponent, and he can block. He does whatever you want because he's blue, and blue is better than everything else. So we have the creatures. Grixis is a control deck with more creatures normally than other control decks because you have all these black-red like things that want to kill everything, and then they're big and they're creatures. But we also have tons of spells, as we need them with our Augur Bolus and our Snapcasters. The main 4 are 4 Pillar of Flame. This card with Voice of Resurgence, Blood Artist, these cards that are really hard to deal with sometimes. I want the full Monty of Pillar of Flames. They let you kill everything that's 2 or toughness or less. It's good. You want early interaction with your Snapcaster mages to have them buy back these cheap spells to make him relevant in the mid-ish game. We have 4 split cards, 2 Far Away and 2 Turn Burn. With the Grixis, you can play the best split cards from Dragon's Maze, in my opinion. They give you a lot of play, like Burn can kill a guy, Turn and Burn in conjunction can kill a Thragtusk, Angel Serenity, and have no residue left over from all the messy cleanup. Far Away is good against the Hexproof decks, which some people are playing. Otherwise, you can just use this as your snap together Wrath of God if you're able to finagle that together. Or you can just far away your own Augur Bolus or your Snapcaster and perform like an ultra combo of bouncing your Snapcaster, bringing it back down to cast something else. You'll see here 3 Magma Quakes. This is the kind of concession that we don't really have Supreme Verdict in the Grixis colors, so we have to make do what we can. We can play Bonfire of the Damned, Barter in Blood, or Magma Quake with some other options. I went with Magma Quake because it misses our Olivia's, maybe can miss our Augur if we cast it for 2 or less, and Aetherling, I mean, at that point, Aetherling can dodge anything, so it doesn't matter. He can kill, they kill pretty much anything except the one thing it can't do is kill flyers, like Lingering Souls or humongous, Thundermaw Hellkites or Vampire Aristocrats. But besides that, like all the dorky grand creatures we can deal with. So I would like that fun. And it's instant speed. Also, no one will ever see it coming because it's not all that good compared to Supreme Verdict. But we make do with what we have here in the Grixis shard. We're not picky. And we have 1 Izzet Charm because it is also another Swiss Army Knight as opposed to Turn and Burn, or conjunction with Turn and Burn. It does everything. It's the main deck counter spell. If you have a billion lands, you can Faithless Looting on one side, Snapcaster back, make your own Faithless Looting with Snapcaster Mage. So I just like having the one of. It's neat. And with the main thing with this kind of deck, you have all these different kinds of removal spells. With all the card drawing that you have, you're able to see a lot more of your deck. So having selection is very important. As long if I just had 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these are done, I only have a certain amount of range I can do. But with these spells, they handle any kind of situation that's thrown at me. In theory, that's what I'm going for. So these are removal spells. We also have 2 Dreadbore to kill bigger things and Planeswalkers. That's kind of what it does. It's just more selection, like I said. And we have 3 counter spells. Counter spells aren't all that great right now with all of the cheaper aggro decks that are running around. But if people are casting Lingering Souls, Unburial Rites, spells that aren't 2 or less mana and have flashback, these exile clauses are really what you're in the market for. For our card selection, we have 6 cards. No Sphinx Revelations. That's the main. What we have in Grixis, we have smaller card drawing spells and cheaper removal as opposed to Supreme Verdict and Sphinx Revelation, which the blue-eyed decks have. But we have 6 different ones: 2 Think Twice, 2 Desperate Ravings, and 2 Thought Scour. I wasn't sure exactly what the correct numbers are, but with these cards, you're able to have the best selection. Say you have a Think Twice and a Ravens in your hand. Which one you want to cast? It depends. Like if your hand is fine, your hand is good, you just want to get some more cards, you want to Think Twice. If your hand is 3 counterspells versus the mono red deck, then you can cast the Ravings and pitch some of these unwieldy huge drops and get some cheaper ones, hopefully. And then I have 1 Rune Shatter Spike, which you don't really see a whole lot in control decks. Usually you see this with Lingering Souls or what have you, but it just allows these dinky do-nothing dudes to actually kill your opponent and kill them quite quickly at that. Plus you haven't lived unless you've had Rune Tanner's Pike on an Aetherling and just like one-hit KO them, hopefully. So that's the main deck. We have 35 spells, 25 lands. Sometimes around 26, but we have these little card draw spells to hopefully just keep the gas flowing. We have the full 12 shocks as we want to hit our colors untapped whenever we want. And we have some Innistrad M12 lands. We have the Nephalia Drown Yards. The other choices are Stincia Bloodhall and the Loot House, Desolate Lighthouse. And the Lighthouse is a consideration for this kind of deck, as you have these spells are bad against control decks, these spells are bad against aggro decks, so you're able to filter through them right. But we have Desperate Ravings, and I just figured I wanted some way to kill people sometimes. We have these creatures to kill them, but against the control decks, oftentimes they'll just kill our creatures. But this is some way that the control decks cannot interact with. Esper employs this probably to a better degree than this deck, as there are more Wraths, and then Sphinx Revelations, but this we can still use to our advantage. And we have one mountain, the Sweet Mountain, a note to Patrick Piselli. And this is for, we have the Pillar Flame on 1, because the Pillar on 1 is the best pillar, and we just want an untapped red source. So this is the main deck. We can take a look over at the sideboard and see what else we can bring in for all these decks that would try to defeat the Grixis Shard. And welcome back, and now we have the sideboard to the Grixis control deck. Let's take a look. At the top, you'll see 3 more counter spells. This is for a concession for control decks, of which there aren't a whole lot, but there are some. You want ways to counter their Planeswalkers or their Sphinx Revelation, and having Syncopate on 2 to nab something where they don't expect is always a nice thing to have. And shocks aren't really the best when your opponents are casting, card draw spells and whatnot. So we have these 3 here. We have 3 Vampire Nighthawks. This is for the aggressive decks. Like in a perfect world, a control deck would know exactly what it's fighting against, and this format currently is fairly aggro-based. Blue is pretty much the worst color, but you can't just have your entire deck focused for one type of thing. So that's why I have the 3 counter spells in the main deck, and I generally won't want those against the aggressive decks, so I can board them out and bring it over to Nighthawks. You haven't lived also until you have a Rune Tanner's Pike on a Nighthawk, and just make a 20-point live swing. That's sweet. Doesn't always happen out that way. Our opponents are jerks, but we'll see how it goes. Down here we have 7 discard spells. We have 3 Appetite for Brains, which I love. This deck is very good with casting and finding cheap 1-mana spells with your Augur Boluses and your Snapcaster Mages. This can deal with Unburial Rites, Thragtusk, Angel Serenity, Acidic Slime, your opponents, their Planeswalkers, except for a Domri Raid. But this is just a sweet preemptive card. It lets you use 1 mana to get their 5 mana, and they're coming to play effects with Thragtusk or whatnot. Normally some decks only run 3 Slaughter Games. I run the full Monty because I love this card. And yeah, Memoricides aren't really always what you want to be doing because you can miss and you spend your whole turn doing nothing. But decks with 4 Acidic Slimes or Umbrella Rites or cards that make them, that is the reason why they beat you. This one specific card. This is a great answer to. Also, all those decks that flaunt their Sphinx's Revelations, look at me drawing cards instantly for 1 billion mana and 1 billion life. I can stop that. That is something they don't have to. And the deck is pretty much a blue-red deck, splashing black for a couple of spells like Olivia that you don't exactly have to function to make the core deck work. But the sideboard is very black-oriented because it does offer some very sweet sideboard cards. And this, too, is Crypt Incursion. It is a Dragon's Maze card. And you don't see it a whole lot, but it is the graveyard hate spell of choice for my deck, at least. Yes, I can get Acidic Slime or Umbrella Rites or Angel Serenity, but this runs the dual purpose of stopping them from doing everything, any creature in the graveyard it gets rid of, and you gain 3 life for each creature for a paltry 3 mana. And Grixis is notorious, at least nowadays, for not having any way to gain life, which is why it's bad. It doesn't have Thragtusk or Revelation. But this is one way to gain life pretty cheaply. You can find it with Augur Bolus, you can Snapcaster back. And one of my old favorite cards, Suffer the Pass, this is kind of my nod to that, because I love that card, and hopefully this card will make do. I'm playing against CVM, playing, like I said, the red-green deck, so I'm not sure if I'll exactly want these discardy spells. But we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I can give you guys a good show featuring the Grixis Shard.